But 700 wins, is that, I feel like the type of person you are, you're not like, yeah, baby, 700, I did it.
Yeah, it kind of, I wouldn't say sneaks up, but it's kind of like just something that's happening as you go along the way. I mean, we've looked at, 100, 200, and each time, and 700 always to me seemed way out of reach. I mean, so I'm kind of surprised myself that we're there, but it's being around great players and great teams.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Welcome to me casa, make yourself at home, do your do. Welcome to my pad, this your lab, go create your move.
This episode is brought to you by Subway. What's good, everybody? It's 99 Miles Per Hour Podcast with me, your host, Percy Garner, and we got some special people in the house today. I know I say that a lot, but I ain't gonna lie. I was afraid to ask our guests to come on, but they surprised me, so we're going to do that. But before we get to our guest, I do want to thank Subway for making this podcast possible. Thank you to the Fitzgerald family. And also, guys, I have merch. Go buy it. It will help a Dover student. We give out scholarships if you guys purchase stuff. Sorry, Dover students, if no one buys anything, I can't help you out. So go do that. And then also I have some pitching lessons that I do on Discord, virtual. Check it out. I'll be sending out a link here soon. But it's just about passing information around. I'm not doing one-on-one lessons, so sorry if that's what you want, but only special people are getting that privilege, so, and that's family. All right. We got two great coaches in the house. One just passed 700 victories, which we're going to talk about. And one, we're going to figure out if it's his plan to take over when the said coach leaves. So we got Bob and Matt Von Kennel. How you guys doing?
Great
Awesome.
To be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome being here. Watching you guys come up through. Saw this, watching a couple episodes in the past, so kind of relishing my opportunity here.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm glad to have you guys on. I was like, because I've been thinking about asking you and Coach If for so long. But I'm like, would they even be interested in doing this? But I'm glad to have you here. But before we even get diving into, why basketball, favorite players. No, I'm joking. I ain't going to ask you that. But I just want to talk about 700th win for you. That puts you top 5 all time, which is pretty amazing. I was watching interviews of Greg Popovich and Mike Krzyzewski, like, all right, what do I want to ask Coach Von Kennel? Because how long you been coaching?
A head coach for 42 years.
Whew. How long? How old are you?
I'm 43.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I was about to say, I didn't mean to put you on blast, but
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I figured it out by now.
Close to my brother. You went to school with my brother, so it's all good.
Teammate.
But 700 wins, is that, I feel like the type of person you are, you're not like, yeah, baby, 700, I did it.
Yeah, it kind of, I wouldn't say sneaks up, but it's kind of like just something that's happening as you go along the way. I mean, we've looked at, 100, 200, and each time, and 700 always to me seemed way out of reach. I mean, so I'm kind of surprised myself that we're there, but it's being around great players and great teams.
I mean, I know, obviously, being from Dover, I've seen all the great teams that you've coached, because I'm not as old as you, Matt, so I didn't get to see as many of those teams, but I just remember the memories I have going to state tournaments for all those teams, and just year after year after year, Dover being a great basketball program, great football program. It's nice to be a part of something where you really don't have a down year. But I want to direct towards you. Obviously, we had the ceremony, and I'm a knight for a basketball player this year named TC Molk. So I was at the ceremony Sunday night, and it got emotional. I was a little offended that you didn't. I don't remember you crying at our banquet.
No,
but no, you
choked up. We'll call it choked up.
Yeah, you choked up. Okay, we'll call it choked.
Yeah.
But it was a great group of kids. Like from what I experienced a little bit, which is basically the last 2 years, watching them in football and then this basketball season. They're a great group of guys. Like you said, they can talk to adults. I don't think people understand like how important that is.
17, 18-year-old kids. Yes.
Yes.
That's a life skill.
And TC, he's not a big talker.
No.
And, but just how is it when you're attached to a class like that where they've been ball boys since they were young. They've always been around over basketball. You kind of seen them grow. Both of you guys have. But like for you, how is that when you're like, oh, dang.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time with kids in this community. If I'm a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade phys ed teacher. So I spend about half a year to a year being the phys ed teacher. And those basketball kids, those sports kids, football kids, they really like gym class. They get after it. So you learn their personality, right? Yeah. And then their freshman football coach, I was with them. And then their basketball coach, and a lot of them had siblings. So this wasn't the first time we met. They have a lot of the personalities of their older brothers and sisters and things like that. And like I said at the banquet, it's the metaphor of you've grasped this young puppy, the young family pet, and you're going to help this family pet grow. But eventually you're going to raise it, and you're going to give it to the next family. It's time for them to move on. And you're going to have to give up that family pet. And you knew that was the plan. Yeah. It's still when it's time to go, you're not ready for it. And like, you watch them grow, and now it's time for another group to come through, and you're starting to grow attached to the next group. And it's a really neat, like, I don't know if the science teacher and the language arts teacher gets that, to do that. Yeah. As the coach and the teacher, we get that bond with kids that maybe other professions don't get. And even people in education sometimes don't get. And they do. They have your chemistry teachers have their favorite chemistry students. I get that, But not everybody shows up, 2,000-3,000 people don't show up to watch the kid take the chemistry test. They show up to watch them play the basketball game, the football game. So True. We've been through the wars together for everybody to see. And now it's time for everybody to see them go. And it's a rare combination. It's a really neat experience. Yeah.
Well, I have a special connection to Mrs. Nine. I had a sty in my eye back in sophomore year, and she gave me her gold ring to get that out. So I still remember that, and it's pretty close. But it's never going to top, the connection I had with Coach Von Kennel. Yelling every practice and getting after us, and that's just the type of coaching I respond to. So when a coach doesn't do that, I'm like, well, what's wrong with this guy? But that's just how, I've had you, Coach Ift, and usually baseball, it's not, Bircher, and then I had Greg Beals, who's now Ohio State coach. They weren't really, get up in your face type of coaches. And, I kind of admired that about you. And I know, times are a little bit different now. And, I know things, your coaching style might have changed. Or has it? Do you have to kind of coach differently around these newer kids?
A little bit, and maybe it's me. You start to realize what you can push on and what you can't. And I'd say that we have very few times that I blow up compared to when you played, because we're taking more time to explain it to them and let them get through things, and sometimes they just need it. But I'd say I coach a little bit different.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we could practice from 3 to 6 o'clock anymore. I really don't think we could go 3 hours. We're about 2 hours and 15 max anytime during the year.
And they're whining.
And we've got kids though that they whine about it, but they keep working, and you kind of learn that the last 40 minutes you're not going to get much out of them.
True.
And you got to watch how your practice schedule lays out. Did we practice 3 to 5 one night, and then or 5 to 7 one night, and come back at 3 to 5, and now you've done 4 hours in a 24-hour period, and so they're ready for a little rest then.
Gotcha. I know you obviously you relate to players probably a little bit different than your dad. But before we even go any further, I want to get that out of the way. Is that your plan? Like, do you see yourself if the opportunity presents itself, if your dad's like, hey, Matt, I want you to take over the team, it's time for me to, go sit down?
Yeah, this is a real original question, Percy. Come on. I can go. I can go to D's and get this same question, and you're going to bring me on 99 mile per hour podcast, and this coach will ask me. Well,
this is going to form my questions down the road.
It matters what day. It matters what month you ask me. You
know?
I mean, am I at a June baseball game with my son, and I should be at team camp or should be at a basketball function, but he's covering it, so lets me go watch my son play baseball? The answer is no. I'm not going to go be the basketball coach. But then it's a springtime, and I'm watching NCAA tournament, and somebody runs a play. And I can see 4 years down the road, we can run that play with such and such kid. I mean, we'll do this. And then someone asks me, "Would you want to be the coach next?" You'd probably get a different answer. So
sure.
It ebbs and flows. I really like what I do right now. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha.
So it's a tough, it's the age old question.
Yeah.
Sure.
But Matt has a really, like you say, different relationship, but a good relationship in terms of they know they can joke around a little bit, but they know there's a line there that they don't need to cross with him either. And that's a tough balancing act, but he probably does it as well as anybody I know. And the kids, they'll play hard and they understand, but we try to get right to the point. And he does a great job. And when he's ready, he's already ready to do it.
Yeah.
It's just go
well,
ahead.
I would agree, because obviously I've been coached by Matt in multiple sports, and I believe I was also in your gym class. Hopefully I was behaving. But the relationship I had with you, like, obviously, I had my brother at home telling me about you guys when you guys were playing back in the 90s and stuff like that, with Coach Iv just getting here, and then I got to experience you as a coach, and there was those moments where there's a time to build the camaraderie and the chemistry in the team, but then there's also times like, okay, like, this isn't that time. We got to get down to business. And you drew that line, like, it was obvious. There wasn't like where I was confused, where I'm like, oh, I thought we were good, to joke about no, it was when I came to practice, I knew we were going to have a good time, but we also were going to get work done. And obviously that stems from, the relationship that you guys have together. And I want to get to that too. And I want to ask some questions you probably heard before, but we'll get to that. But I want to say, I admire, like, my freshman year, obviously playing football. That was a great year. And that's when I really, like, because I didn't know. I had Coach Miller pretty much every year in middle school. Well, I had Coach Hall a little bit, Jared Hall, but
in a new position.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, how is this? You're young. Like, it was just a different dynamic that I was used to. Because, it was different. It was different. But I just wanted to let you know on the podcast that, you kind of gave me a different, like, outlook at coaching. Because I thought coaching you had to be an older gentleman and someone that was, like, hardcore and always screaming and just intense. And you could be that way when it was needed. But like your dad said, you're very good at balancing that. So I just wanted to let you know that.
I appreciate it.
And I also wanted to kind of get your outlook on me as a as a freshman or middle schooler and an athlete, and be honest, because I always picture myself as a late bloomer, except outside of baseball. Baseball was I'm sure people thought you growing up, since you were in the Major League Baseball, that everything you did just came naturally to you, and everything you did from your right arm did. You know what I mean? When basketball, you had to work at it, and you weren't the quickest. Nope.
You didn't jump real high, but
you lied to me though to get me down to the post.
But see, you had this big, strong leg muscles. Yeah. You know what I mean? I remember your confidence, the brash. I mean, from the very first time I met you, Percival Garner III. I think you're in the second grade, right? Because I was a senior. So, like, we went to South Elementary School to say hi to the kids during a Philly game, and there's some goofy kid jumped around the back, and Jason looks at me and goes, "That's my little brother." And so that's when I first met you. Then fast forward 8 years later, I'm your freshman, football coach, and I'm coaching football. I'm 25. You're 14.
Yeah.
And I remember the confidence that we're able to carry your sometimes lack of skill.
Yeah.
But you thought you could do it, and there was never a doubt in your mind that you couldn't do it. And then you had everybody else around you thinking you could do it. And sometimes, and I've coached long enough to where I see kids who had not, and some will be followed, and some don't have the leadership. You had that leadership. You had a couple buddies, and it was a neat year because it was the first year without Daniel.
Yeah,
and you guys are growing up playing with Daniel. Daniel did this, and everybody had to play one position over, Right? It took us a while to find you a quarterback. We had to put one position over, and all of a sudden, you know, I got a freshman quarterback and throw 50 yards down the sideline, and I can just wow people during warm-ups. You know, like, hey, you better back up them DBs. I got one that's going to uncork it a couple of times. Then we just hand it off a lot. But.
Yeah. Well, we had guys that could run it.
Exactly. So. But it was a neat year. It was neat, and I remember just that confidence that you had.
That's what's up. It's funny hearing that.
You're pretty much in my story to the kids today playing is that, you know, how hard guys worked in the past across the line. In other words, I said Percy was the type of guy that played in a baseball game, and the bus came back to the school then, and they got off the bus, they went in and put on a pair of shorts, tennis shoes, and came up and finished the night playing another hour of open gym. And it wasn't uncommon for any of those guys who were playing baseball to just come in and play basketball with us. And that's kind of, now I don't think kids say I can't do that because I have a game. I have a game.
I agree.
And
you probably lifted that morning too. You probably lifted at 6 a.m., went to school all day, got on a bus, beat Cambridge in a baseball game, got off the bus like, oh, there's open gym tonight. Hey, Micah, you want to go play? Let's go play. And let's throw on some shoes. And you just played.
Yeah. Mike is already up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I didn't even think of like, oh, this is too much, or no, I can't. It was just I was going. That's
what everybody did.
That was part of it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts.
They still would to this.
So I think there's certain players, and I kind of like, you know, at the some of the players you have now, like even when TC came to my house, I was like, Mark, like, how'd you create this specimen? Like, would you? Because I'm just like, hey, what do you do, TC, in the free time? Oh, I play basketball.
Yeah,
I do this and that.
Go to the Y.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, the kids nowadays have a lot of stuff that could pull them away from. You know, and I see that in Cohen. He looks like he has a group of friends because I think you need a group of friends that you guys are competitive with and you play basketball with, you play all sports with, and you kind of just run around with them, you know. And obviously Cohen has that. So I'm like, oh, I need to get Person that because that's what I had, you know. But before we get down a rabbit hole about, you know, our kids, I just want to, why basketball? I guess we'll start with you. Like, what?
Well, I growing up in Strasburg, which basketball is pretty much the sport there then, even when I played. But I played 4 years of football, 4 years of baseball, 4 years of track, and basketball. I was, I believe, the last person at Strasburg to play 4 sports that way, play track and baseball. And I was interested in all of them, but I enjoyed basketball most, and I probably lettered the least number of years in it. Because we had really good players and we had really good teams, and basketball was. I grew up by the fire station in Strasburg, and that was my home court. I mean, it was right in our backyard, and we would play for hours there on that court. And so basketball was always a center focus. You know, it's hard. We played a lot of baseball games with a rubber coated baseball on an asphalt parking lot, so that ball flew. But we did those things. We played all the games in the summer, but basketball is easiest to emulate. You know, you can't. It's hard to get a 9-on-9 baseball game together.
True.
Probably could do it easier then than you could now.
Yeah.
But and football the same thing. So basketball was the first love of mine, and I wasn't a great player or anything, but I was a tactician. I think one of the higher comments I got was I got to play in the Tuscarawas. They had a Tuscarawas County All-Star game, and I got to play in that. And an interesting comment came from Bill Fry, who later became a guidance counselor at Dover, but he was the head coach at Tusky Valley. And he said to my high school coach, he said, Rock, now I know why you had him on the court all the time. He said, we would scout and figure, why does he play so much? And now I know. He said, after practicing with you for a week and understanding that you had a tremendous understanding of the game. Basketball, coaching-wise, why did I get interested? You can ask my wife. We dated in high school.
Wow.
And a Saturday night might be going to watch 2 other teams play, because we weren't playing, even in high school. I mean, it was like I didn't go to the movies. We went and watched another basketball game all the time. I don't know how much she liked it, but she got a taste of it for the next 40 years. So
Oh, that's awesome. I did not know that.
They always say your wife needs two sets of clothing, one to wear to your games and one to go watch other games.
Yeah, that's where mom's been.
Dang. I mean, and I have a similar story to that. I don't know if I ever told you guys that, but basketball was technically my favorite sport. I just would have had to work a lot harder compared to football and baseball. And, I see guys who I thought I was better than in middle school, and then they just passed me by as we, because they were, like Micah. I always thought, basketball was a sport, but early on, I was like, oh, well, I'm better than Micah. And then freshman year, I was like, oh, dang.
He kept working on it.
Yeah, he kept playing. And I knew, I was like, basketball, you got to work, and you handle, obviously, everybody loves working on the jump shot, but there's a lot of things that went into it, and I didn't realize it till long after. And, I was like, it's not that I have regrets, but I'm just like, dang, but we had a great team too. So, it would have been a tough thing because my mom used to come to the games like, how come you ain't shooting the ball? I'm like, because we got, dudes that can shoot it better, mom.
That changes.
But no, the experience I had, playing under you guys was, and Coach Gunther, those memories are just, I don't know, because basketball is a different sport in my mind, and it's something I gravitated towards all the time, whether it was at the Y or somewhere down on Washington Street finding a hoop to play on. And that's why I was like, I gotta have them both on. So I want to get in some tougher questions because obviously we had a tough loss here this year, and we didn't expect to get bounced this early. But I want to direct this to you first. How do because you're the coach, level you're at, I would say you win the majority of your games. You do as well, but I feel like it's, when being a freshman football coach, I feel like there might have been some down years, but we win most of those games, especially when I was growing up, because at ECOL, we were, a better team than most teams we faced. But when you have a tough loss, when you know that our talent level and the way we practice and the way we prepared for the game, how did we lose this game?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you deal with that, and how do you get over it? What do you have a process, or you like kind of festering in it?
Oh, let me tell you. It's the worst part of coaching. It's the worst part. Now, the tournament loss, like you said, the high school tournament loss, we always say this as coaches, only 4 guys really feel good about how the season ended. And everybody else has that bad taste in your mouth. But you lost by 30, you lost by 3, sectionals, different levels. I mean, but only 4 people are really going to feel fun. The next day is we all feel the same.
Yeah.
The next day. It's looking back on it, after a tough loss. If it's, regular season game, you're thinking about how can we change this so it never happens again? What's practice going to be like? What's the next 3 days going to be like? What's the psyche of the kid? Psyche of all the kids, that kind of thing. Yeah. We had a regular season loss to our rival, and how that festered. It was neat to kind of deal through one of those after being away from it and coming back. Tournament losses, you can't dwell on what just happened because there's nothing to fix anymore.
Yeah.
You lose 5-6 games of regular season. How can we fix? How can we fix? How can we fix? Now you lose the last one. It's like, now it's time for goodbyes. Cool. Now it's how we walk out of this locker room together, and everybody, adjusted the next day. It's awful. You're in a comatose state. Yeah. It's tough. You're a shell of a human. The next day, it takes days. Yeah. And you keep trying to remind yourself, put things in perspective. Like, it was just a high school basketball game. Yeah. Like my brother will get a hold of us who doesn't. He's out of that game, and he's like, what's wrong with you guys? You just lose your biggest account. It has nothing. There's no monetary value. You take a huge loss that has no monetary value. That's about as close as I can put it. It's like it's now you're dealing with human beings. It's not loss in that perspective. But it's just that. It's just like the disappointment. Like, you and I are going to go through a disappointing thing together, and here it comes. We don't know where it's going to happen, but we're all going to be disappointed on the same hour, right? And we're all going to be sick the next 24 hours. That's the bond that's happened from 3 to 6 on Monday through Thursdays for 3, 4, 5 months. That's the culmination of that. That's what makes coaching. Why do we sign back up to do that all over again? We're a sick bunch, aren't we? You know what I mean? Like, this is your end of the year celebration. You lose unless you're one of 4 lucky people in a school in Akron.
Yeah. The losses after you do this for a long time, the wins don't produce the same high.
Yeah.
I mean, you win and you're ready to go get ready for the next game. And the losses they just tear you apart and just eat at you. And what you find yourself doing, and it was funny because I just came from a state coaches meeting with a lot of the best coaches all around the state. And I think everybody there was out of the tournament. Nobody was going to make the state tournament this year. But everybody's lamenting how they lost, And I was no different than the next guy. And, Sheldon, that Colonel Crawford told me they were 5 for 21 from 3 and they just couldn't buy one. And the guy from the other team hadn't played in the regional semis and scored 11 points in the second quarter on him. And then, he gets done and I say, well, we out-rebounded Fitz 40-18. We got 20 offensive rebounds and some guys had 5 offensive rebounds and didn't have a basket, didn't have a stick back. It's like we had 1 turnover fewer. We had the same number of field goals.
Wow.
And they made more threes. We made the same number of threes. They were 12 of 18 from the line. We were 9 for 13.
And just the numbers just wrong. You've been to those baseball games, where the one team hits line drives, it gets right at someone. The other team walks a guy, bloops a single in air, and I win 1-0.
That's happened to me so many times.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's just really, really frustrating. And you realize after you do it for as long as I have, you realize that it seems like the kids don't care as much as you do. But they're going on. They're going on to other stuff, and they got other stuff going on, and we don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, Coach Shift always, he always comes in and talks to me after the tournament loss or after we lose a game, and we always talk with each other. And it's like, he said, I just really, really admire the fact that you get up and come in here at 6:45 the next morning after a really, really tough loss, and you're here at school the next day. He said, because I worked with some coaches and some guys when they lost in the basketball tournament, they never came to school the next day.
Hey. And
you come in and just got to go on, and that's part of it. But that's probably the hardest thing I dealt with. This year is probably the first time since maybe 95 that we were the higher seeded team and lost to a team that was seeded lower than us. And it's just, you want to play your best, and sometimes it doesn't happen. And, Matt, we talked about an interesting stat. In the last 5 games of the season, Aiden was shooting 55% from 3. Oh my gosh. And then he couldn't buy one in that game, It was just...
It's like you said, it's you only have to beat you. It's not like a 7-game series like the pros. It's a 1-game set. You only got to be better than me once for 32 minutes. And, those kids who got us to that point, and like Aiden, who put us on his back so many other times, it was just a bad luck. And you could see it happening to the poor kid. Like, oh, no, you see it into the kid in baseball who's hot. All of a sudden he's hitting line drives right at people and can't hit one. It just... That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And you've been on the other side of it. Like, I'm sitting there watching this happen, like, I've been on that bench before too, like where the ball just bounces right to you.
And sorry to say this real quick, but that was like against Cambridge in the playoffs in football when Kyle Sattler, he was the only receiver that didn't have a touchdown. Yeah. And the first two passes I threw that game, he had a touchdown.
That's
Cambridge probably, who is this dude?
It's kind of like the Steubenville game recently. There were Gigax and McIlvain had each had a touchdown, right?
Yeah, McCray.
I'm sorry. Will McCray.
Yeah, down that playoff game down there. Yeah,
they each had touchdowns and have never scored a touchdown all season.
They're probably thinking, where do these guys come from?
Yeah,
that's the magic of high school sports. Though. They're so unscripted. That always says all the time. We're just going to get that kind of entertainment for $7. You're going to walk in there. You have no idea the script. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
people go to the movies. People already know the ending of that movie.
Yeah,
they don't know the ending of this high school sporting event. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. It's unbelievable, the value of it. And basketball's a little more intimate than even baseball, and especially football, because you're further away.
Yeah.
But on basketball, you're right on top of the crowd, and they can't see your face in a football game or a baseball game sometimes with your hat on.
Yep.
But basketball, they know who you are, and they know what you look like, and
everyone's emotion.
Yeah. Everyone's emotions are displayed.
Yeah, in baseball, they try to get it. They make the helmets where the cuts off so you can see the players, but you just can't. You can't do it. Like basketball to me is just and I get asked to coach, and basketball is it'd probably go basketball, football, baseball. Like basketball being number one if I was able to coach or had a desire. Maybe when a person gets older. But I kind of want to backtrack to what you were saying at the beginning and what you were talking about. Dealing with the tough losses, because I struggled bad, like with this once I got to pro ball, because I never really struggled in high school and in college, believe it or not. College, I was just happy to be there and having fun. I just quit football, and I was like, wow, and a lot of my teammates are like, oh my gosh, I got to perform like this because I'm trying to get drafted in the top 5 rounds and get this amount of money. And I'm just like, pro baseball, that's not a thing. I'm just out here, having fun. And then when I got to pro ball, the expectation just kind of weighed me down, and I was like, okay, there's 5,000 people here. Our GM is in here to see me pitch. It's my first outing. Blew it. Then my whole day, and I don't pitch. I pitch once every 5 days. So I get to fester for 4 days. Like, okay, this is what I did. This is what I did. And then I would harp on the numbers too. Like, oh man, I can't move up with this ERA. I got to get this down. And it was just constantly. And sometimes it was snowball. Like, okay, I can't do this. I wasn't focused on the right things. I can't do this. I can't walk this guy. I can't give up this home run. Ooh, this is a big time hitter. I got to pitch well against him. So then my stock goes up. And I would just put all this weight on my shoulders. And then a Subway worker in Florida just made it all make sense. I literally walked in, and I just felt like my numbers from the previous game were just on my forehead. And she has probably never seen a minor league game in her life, maybe not even a major league game. But she's just like, you want your same 12 cookies? And someone was with me like, what the hell, 12 cookies? And it was just like, when she brings them out fresh, I have to.
You're ordering 12 cookies from Subway.
You might want to edit that out, Josh.
Enough to where she recognized you. I don't grant it.
I didn't just bring up Subway because they sponsored the podcast. That's just how it was, and it kind of made me realize, like, dude, relax. Just go the next game, and that's what happened in 2016. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm playing in Akron. I'm 45 minutes from home. It's gonna be fun year, and then just clicked. Yeah, it just clicked, and it's funny, but
that's confidence. That was your confidence coming back, and Matt and I can attest to, what your biggest strength was is that you were confident that you would get things done. And then you were in a hesitant mood.
Yeah.
It's like, can I get it done? Yeah, you could get it done.
Yeah. That's not a good spot to be in. And I was in it for a while once I got to pro level, because I was injured and I was watching all these great players. And I'm like, oh man, can I, I was injured for a whole year. Like, can I still do this? Do I still throw hard? Like, but I want to talk about that expectation. Do you ever put a lot of expectation on yourself, or you just, you've done it for so long and you prepare for these games? Because in my mind, if you've done the preparation, because I used to think, success is like the biggest thing, I never looked at it until Roy Halladay said, preparation is the biggest part of everything, and you'll be confident. I always thought I had to do something good and then I would be confident. But he's like, no, prepare, and you feel like you can't go wrong, if and that's a confidence. And then that kind of changed my whole mindset. Is that how you guys, I guess you've done it for 40 plus years. Do you still every year like, okay, this is a great group of kids, we gotta do this? Do you put all that on yourself, or?
Sometimes when you have, like, we had an experienced team coming back this year, and I always remembered as a player, I was a guy who had the same coach in 7th grade, 8th grade. When I was a freshman, he became the varsity coach, and then we played for him in high school. And I always felt like we didn't do enough fundamentals because he thought we already had those down because he did them with us when we were younger. But, we do the fundamental things. People probably would laugh if they come in and see us do pivoting before the start of every practice. And why do we do so much pivoting? And then we try to reduce traveling calls, and preparation wise, you always had a scouting report in your hand and a test to take on Thursday night. And so we did try to get you prepared as much as possible. And I think that is one of our strengths of our program.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we're getting close to the end. I want to ask this though before we go, because obviously father, son, and then now you have a son who I just saw for the first time play basketball, and I was like, oh, okay, look at Matt's son out here, Cohen. He looked kind of nice with the ball. He made me want to go out there and block a shot because he was just running past my son like. Yeah. But I'll start with you because it might be backwards, but I want to do this. So for you, I know obviously we talked about it. You want to spend time with your son, and that's obvious. And he loves basketball. Do you feel growing up with your dad being a coach, did he do a good job of balancing, or was there a need to balance, or do you feel like I love basketball so much, it was just. Yeah. Was he dad or coach, or was it all in one, or what was that?
Yeah, well, growing up, he was at Tusky Valley, and we were still living in Strasburg, so going to Tusky Valley games, I was just what we did. His first 12 years of coaching, whatever, until I was in the 6th grade, I went up and went Betty ball at Tusky Valley, and I was trying to play in 2 leagues at the same time, and I see that with Cohen, just wanting to go to practice. That's where I wanted to go. I wanted to be at practice. I wanted to ride the bus to the games. I wanted to go to the games, and you hung on every point, sitting on the end of the bench, things like that. It's eerily similar what the life Cohen is living. I better throw an L too. All right, I am coach pitched 8U coach pitch team. I am the pitcher for my daughter's 8U coach pitch team. So I want to throw that out there.
Okay.
And we will be getting Subway too. However, there was a balance that it was, when I grew him, we just called it the coach father-son relationship just kind of went naturally,
Gotcha.
And it didn't spill over at home. Like we went home to dinner, we weren't talking about it. We weren't going to bring it up in front of mom because mom was going to side usually with us. If she didn't, then it was a no-win situation. We're going to ruin dinner. Let's put it that way. You're going to ruin Beth Von Kennel's dinner. No, you don't. So you just kept practicing on the way. And for the most part, we were fortunate. We played on winning teams. My brother and I both did. So we were lucky that way. But when it comes to the balancing act and things like that, like I said, I'm lucky because Cohen likes it too. And he's along for the ride, and his buddy's along for the ride. And it's just what he knows right now. Sometimes I feel like, sometimes on a Friday night in December, he can just go do something else, but there's nothing else he'd rather do. So
true. And I see that, but I just wanted to see what you thought about that. Now, from your standpoint, did you?
Well, I think when growing up and stuff, my only wish was that they'd have been at Tusky Valley so they could come to practices when they were younger. I really love having Cohen in practice. It's pretty neat. Your son is there and your grandson for every night of practice, and it's so meaningful to all of us. And my dad owned a trucking business, and even when I first started teaching, I was a substitute teacher for 2 years, and the days I didn't sub, I worked in the trucking office with him. And so when I got a full-time teaching job, I was still going in for about an hour in the morning before school and do the fuel reports for my dad, and he died an early death of a heart attack. And I cherish those moments every time I think about it. I think about those were the best times that I got to spend time with my dad in the office together. And now I feel really, really lucky that I have Matt there every single night. And he probably is forced to do more than most assistant coaches, because if there's something I need done, I know I can ask him and he's going to get it done for us. And then he's out in front of a lot of other things because he sees problems that could happen, whether it's an opponent or a player or something. It just it's a great relationship to work with, and it's been fun. It's been fun. I spent about 3 or 4 years. I don't know how many years you coached the freshman team. 4 years away. He was not with us, and he had came up as a varsity assistant when he started coaching. And, we gotten to the point where he called the out-of-bounds plays. He called what presses. We don't do that very often, but he got to call those presses or switching defenses. He called.
Still 7? No.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Give away our secrets.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Look, that out.
No, we're good. Everybody knows
I
that.
let him do that. He runs out of bounds. He run different scouting stuff. It's just that I could trust him. And the big thing was he subs. I don't sub anybody. He subs the guys in and out because he's taking a look at, are they getting tired, or they just need a quick rest or whatever. And for those 4 years, Coach Miller and Coach Doak did a good job, a really good job of helping sub. But it was different because they're always worrying what I think. If I should I tell Coach we should put this guy in? With Matt, don't ask. We're just putting him in.
Quit asking about 2005.
And so I have so much trust and confidence in him, and I want those guys to. My theory always, and Matt will attest to, is for my assistant coaches, make as many suggestions as you want.
Yeah.
Don't be disappointed if I don't use some of them, but just keep asking, or just say, hey, should we try this? Should we try that? Because 4 eyes, 6 eyes, 8 eyes are better than 2 watching what's going on. But, yeah, it's been a great, great experience having Matt on the bench, and I did really miss it when he was gone those 4 years.
Well, that's what's up, man. I'm excited. I'm glad I had you guys on, and I did want to get into some other stuff, but maybe that's down the road because obviously you guys both have understanding spouses, like you've already mentioned, and I want to talk about that a little bit. But
we can't cut that out. Oh no,
That's she is the first lady of basketball in the county.
Yes,
in Tuscarawas County easily. I mean, I don't think. Mr. McCrate usually gives us a pass for our wife to get into the game. I don't think she needs one because I think everywhere she goes, they know who she is. Exactly. If they don't, she said, do you think a 60-something-year-old lady that's coming here to watch basketball on a Friday night, if I didn't have a vested interest? So, it's pretty plain and pretty clear.
Yeah.
No, we probably didn't stick to the outline, did we? How much did we get into that outline?
I mean, we did. We talked about tough losses, expectation a little bit. There was one question, but I feel like it might be hard to answer, but not hard, but it might be self-explanatory. But I had, what is your ideal player? Like if you're now, obviously it's not like, LeBron James, but I mean like a person that we might get at Dover and what type of characteristics, not skills, because obviously we love someone who can handle, jump, shoot, all that stuff, but just characteristics of and I want to keep it limited because, obviously.
I would say team first. A guy who's always team first is ideal, and a guy who's a leader. He's going to take guys by his example of how he plays, but also by his words of encouragement to other players. Those guys that have those qualities really lift your team up. And when you have a good team, you have more than one of those.
Sure.
This year we had more than one leader. We had several leaders, and they lifted up other guys all the time. So that, and like you said, the skill set. The skill set is important.
Yeah. Poise.
And the poise is really big.
I noticed that this year because I would not describe what I had in basketball games as poise. But
a little emotional.
TC, man, like, and Aiden, he gets fired up, but I've never seen him like get out of control and erratic. And I never saw anybody on the team really do that. But I know I can just only relate things to me. And in a funny story, me and Micah were ragging on Eric Durmuth because he was doing some incredible things as a sophomore and just no reaction whatsoever.
No.
He would dunk on a whole team.
Yes.
And me and Mike are like, Eric, man, like we need to see something. And then he'd up getting a technical the next game when he showed a little
time to represent.
Yeah.
But for me, I was watching, and that's the one thing that stood out to me about the team. And especially obviously my player this year was TC. So I was watching him like a hawk, and I didn't know how good he was at basketball. And I was like, dang it, I wish I would have been watching last year and just, and just seeing how type of player he grows, because I didn't know that he didn't play on the middle school team. So you tweeted that out, and I was like, oh my, or he didn't start.
Yeah.
And his parents told me that, and I forgot. But like, that was the biggest thing. I was just like, man, he is always just chill.
You cannot be rattled. Like being on a pitcher, there's certain pitchers on the mound that you get rattled and you can't be your best. You gotta have poise.
Yeah.
And he has that. You got a lot of kids who you shouldn't be able to tell if I've missed 3 in a row or made 3 in a row. I'm going to be able to play with the same intensity and have the same look on my face. We've had a couple of them. Mason Mamrella's had that stone cold face, so you couldn't tell if he's missed or made 5 in a row, and he's going to just keep playing. You you can't be thrown off by the situation.
They're
It's
a good
there.
comparison. Mason
Positive,
and him.
Yeah.
positive emotions are good. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, but
Yeah.
you can't let the negative throw off your play. In basketball, like you said, everybody can see if you're rattled or not. Everybody can see the look on your face, and it affects you.
Yeah.
You can't pitch hyped up. You can't pitch mad. You can't play quarterback angry.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny that you said that, because I want to finish with this. Is that was one of the things that got my draft stock even higher once I became the Friday night starter in college. So that's the number one. I was pitching against the worst team in the MAC conference, and I was getting shelled because I was tipping my pitches, and no one wanted to tell me until I came out of the game. But that's neither here nor there. So they were putting up seven runs on me, and my agent was there. A lot of scouting directors were there, so top scouts for teams. And in my mind, I was like, really? No disrespect, but Eastern Michigan?
Yeah,
This is awful. Everyone's here. This is terrible. But I was like, I'm going to keep it cool. I'm going to take this shellacking, and no one's going to know that I'm yelling on the inside.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that was on my scouting report that the Tampa Bay Rays said, hey, athletic body. I came late to the game, did not know who was winning until I looked at the scoreboard. And I was like, oh, I think players
Good
kind of
demeanor,
overlook that.
yeah.
I think,
absolutely.
especially young players.
Oh, yeah. That's hard to – don't react. It's hard to say.
It's hard,
Yeah.
but
Play with emotion. No. Play with passion. Yes.
yeah.
So there's a fine line between passion and emotion.
Yeah, that is true. Basketball brought out the worst in me, I think. I treated refs kind of poorly. I just get so intense. Basketball does that to me. Practices, games, they're all crazy. But I want to, again, thank you guys for coming on the show. This was great. This is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys did as
It was
well.
fun.
Yeah, it was a
that
great
good.
time.
Yeah,
It was great.
I'm just, Josh, he'll tell me his grade because he always like, oh, that was a good one.
You can grade us out. Yeah, grade us out.
But no, thank you guys again. And also, I appreciate everybody listening in. Make sure you like, subscribe. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Come on. Shout out to Cohen. You better subscribe.
Yeah.
Does he have a phone?
No, heck no.
Oh, yeah.
Not allowed
He's
that.
younger than I thought he is. Anyways, check out, the show, 99 miles per hour. Also, check out the merch store. Again, goes to help a Dover student. I was kind of sly before. I didn't always say it was a Dover student, but I have to admit it is a Dover student. But thank you guys for watching. This will be out live Tuesday. This also will be on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you don't have an iPhone. But thank you guys, and peace.
Thank you for
The crib by the water, say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shouting you my little mama. I got a crib by the water, say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shouting you my little mama. She be on that Henny. I like that Corona. I love her smell.